Welcome. My name's Jessica. You have found yourself at the channel for the needle and floss, where we talk all about cross stitch and stitchy stuff. So yay! I have lots of cool stuff to show you today. I filmed 2 weeks ago, so I think that's going to be my regular filming cadence, is every 2 weekends. It feels less overwhelming. I was thinking about filming last weekend just to see if I could do like a weekly cadence, but honestly, it just kind of felt like so much work. I don't know. Filming isn't a big deal. It's the uploading and the editing and everything else. And I have a 40-hour-a-week job that I do, plus my side business. So I think I'll stick to every 2 weeks, or at least I'll try to, and I'll see how that goes. So yeah, you'll also notice that I'm in a new filming location. Last week I was upstairs in my office/craft room. It's kind of a craft room, it's kind of not. It's just where I store my craft stuff. Now we're in the den. I don't know, I just wanted to try something different. I wasn't super happy with the lighting in the last video, and this has a lot more natural lighting, as you can see. Plus, I also mentioned that, you know, we had recently purchased the house. If you can say recently in the last 6 months, but what is time anymore? So this is also kind of a opportunity to, you know, tour our home, at least in this little space. What else? The last couple weeks, not too much happened. Me and my husband, we've been playing Stardew Valley. We started watching Battlestar Galactica. I had seen Battlestar Galactica, the reimagined series from like 2003. I had watched it myself maybe 10 years ago, but he's never seen it. So I was really excited to introduce it to him. And even because I've seen it 10 years ago, there's so much that I don't remember. Like, I remember really big beats, but it's fun, just to rewatch it, but then also to watch it with him as a new viewer and like in real time see the theories and everything going through his head has been really cool. But otherwise, I don't think anything else has been going on. What else could be new, really? I don't know. I think that's it. Let's get to cross stitch, right? That's why we're here. So the first thing is something I finished. Like, I finished stitching it a long time ago. I just talked about, I watched Battlestar Galactica 10 years ago. I watched Breaking Bad probably 10 years ago, and I probably stitched this around when it was wrapping up. But this is Kiss the Cook by Stitch, and I finally got it in a frame. I have tons of finished cross stitches that have just been sitting in a box, and this was one of them. So this year I'm gonna try to actually get them all finished. Most of them will probably be going in frames just because that's kind of what I like to do, but I do want to try different finishes. So here and there, depending on the project and if it fits it, I'm going to start trying to do that. So this one went in a frame. It's just, you know, it was a pretty cheap frame from Michael's. It was, I want to say it was like $5. And I frame it myself. So I have acid-free foam board. I pin it, I lace the back, and then I take the pins out and I tighten the lace and then I tie it off. And then because the foam board, I want to say it's 3/16 of an inch thick. It's pretty thick once it's laced. So usually I don't have room for the glass. Plus the glass will squish the stitches usually, unless you have a mat. But even if you have a mat and the glass, it's super thick. So what I typically do then is I have It's called framer's tape, I think, because this is one of the types of backings that you like tuck in and then you push down, and then these little things are supposed to go under. There was no way I was getting these things under. So sometimes I'll be able to force them under, but most times I'll just put framer's tape. I want to say painter's tape. Definitely not painter's tape. It's framer's tape. And then that just keeps it closed. So yeah, kiss the cook. What I do want to ask you guys, while I am delving into different types of finishes, I do have a couple things that I want to do into flat folds. I've never done this before. I've watched tutorials and I think I can do it. It seems something like something I can do. The question is what kind of fabric do you guys get? I was looking at fabric and there's so many different choices, and then you can get, like I was looking at Fat Quarter Shop and there was like those huge bundles of them, but it's for quilting, and so I don't need that much fabric. I really just need, my ideal is a variety of fat quarters, like 5, but like they all kind of are coordinated. So if you guys have suggestions on where I could get those, or even just singles of fat quarters that I could purchase so that I can like pick and choose what I want, instead of a huge bundle that's like $50 of a ton of fabric that I don't even know if I'll use. Yeah, if you guys have suggestions, that would be super helpful because I'm kind of at a loss. There's a few finishes that I wanted to do as flat folds, and then I have ideas for Christmas ornaments that I want to do this year that I also think would be really cute as flat folds. So yeah, where do you guys get your fabric? And at least with the Christmas ornament flat folds, those specifically I was thinking about using like a Christmassy plaid, but I wanted to do different variations. So like a blue Christmassy plaid, and then a red one, and then a green one, and like just different colors of like Christmassy plaid. That's really what I'm looking for. But then I have other flat folds that I want to do too. So I don't know, just fabric recommendations, where to buy, what to buy, cotton, modal, flannel. I don't think flannel, but yeah, just all the advice would be helpful. Thank you in advance. Next up is the single finish that I did this last couple weeks. This is one that you saw in my whip parade. It is another Stitch design, my Han Solo and Chewie. So this was they call it a Stitch along instead of a stitch along. A Stitch along from 2015. So I started it in 2015. I paused. I continued to get the patterns, but I didn't really feel like stitching it. So I actually finished this. I picked it back up in December, I think, and then I finished it end of January. And then the cool thing about Stitch is a lot of the Stitch alongs that she's been doing recently, and it might have actually started with this one, where she finishes like the main design, and then she gives different options for text that you can do. So for this one, I chose Home Sweet Home. And I actually have a frame from Michael's coming that I'm pretty excited about. That's like a silver metallic frame, and it gives me kind of like spaceship vibes. So we'll see. And then this one will probably also end up being a gift, I think. I don't know who yet. I wanted to finish it. I wanted this to be a finished stitch. But me and my husband aren't super Star Wars fans anymore. So we'll see. I mean, I like the design. I don't think this is gonna be going up in the house. And with that, let's move on to the whips. So the first one I want to show you is Disney's Castle by Mandarinx Design. You can pick this up in their Etsy shop. And all of the links, anything that can be purchased, I'll link in the description below, just in case I'm enabling you to start any of these. So this is the progress that I've made. On my Disney castle. This is stitched on 32 count Jobelin in the colorway Summer Sky. I'm looking. I don't have the brand. But I'll show you the new parts. So I was really working in this corner. And I think I mentioned that this was a 9-page pattern. So I was really just working on this corner page here. So I've stitched a lot of the cliffs and the bottom shrubs there. Now what I started doing with my whips, I started doing this at the beginning of the year in January. I downloaded an app. I don't remember what it's called. I will put the name of it in the description below. Maybe I'll put it on the screen. But I use an app that is like one of those spin wheels. And so I put in all the patterns that I'm working on. And then each day I just spin the wheel. So I have no idea each day what I'm gonna work on. Well, I spin it at night the day before because I get excited and I wanna know. But like, I don't have a plan like a week in advance what I'm gonna stitch on. Like it's very day by day because I have so many whips that it would be so easy for me to get laser focused on one of them. So, and then also just to like spread what I'm working on, I have been using this whip wheel. What's funny is Disney's Castle came up like 4 times. And then the next one that I'm about to show you came up like 3 times. So I don't know how fair it is. It's even on, it has this fair mode, which is supposed to evenly distribute how many times something gets spun. So we'll see if I end up finishing, like if it ends up with this streak of I just keep working on the same things over and over, I might switch apps. But I do like the idea of it, the concept of it, because like I said, it's mixing things up. But the next one is Retro Geometric Pattern. And this one's by Axaby. So, like I said, got spun a lot on the whip wheel. So, I got done a lot. When I showed this to you last, I had kind of this middle part done. So like I've gotten done this whole corner, the top whole corner. I've started going up into this corner and it's pretty full coverage. This is on an 18 count Aida. It's either in oatmeal or light oatmeal. You're not gonna see too much of it except for like just where it shows through. It's pretty full coverage. But I got done a lot. And even the days that it got spun on the whip wheel, they were weekend days. So that's where I can do the most stitching. So you'll see between this one and Disney Castle, this was where most of my stitching happened. So even though I still have a lot to show you, I didn't make as much progress on the other ones. I mean, still some good progress, but not that level of progress. All right, and the last one that you have already seen that I want to show you is one that we had a great discussion about last time. Whale in a Light Bulb by Cute Patterns by Maria. I chose to stitch this on 25 count Wedgwood Lugana by Witchelt. And I got a pretty decent amount done. So the whole thing that happened that we talked about last time was, it's 25 count, so I wanted to do 1/1. Well, there's blends in this. Let me fold this the other way. There's blends in this. And it's pretty, usually when you do blends, you know, you do one color, one strand of one color and one strand of the other color, and you stitch as normal. Well, when you're working only with one strand, how do you blend, right? So There were a couple great suggestions in the comments, and I really should have written down your names. I'll do a quick shout out below, but thank you so much for the idea of stitching the bottom strand in one color and the top strand in the other color. So, and there was even the suggestion to do the bottom color in the darker and the top color in the lighter. So that's how I blended this. And I still don't think it's as smooth of a blend as like with 2 strands would have been. But I think that's okay. I think this is still better than not blending at all. And I do have a little bit of the water left, but it's just really in that little corner. And then otherwise this is like little seaweeds, and then there's the sand, and then the whale, and then some bubbles. But yeah, I actually got quite a bit done. And I mean, it's 1/1, so I mean, these are really tiny stitches. So this was actually quite a bit that I was able to knock out. I think I only stitched 1 day on this, but I think this was also a weekend day. So yeah, whale and light bulb. Thank you so much for your suggestions. It's coming along. And the whole idea was being able to make this fit in a 5x7 frame. That's why I wanted to stitch it 1/1. So, because I didn't want it to be in a huge frame. I have an idea for this as a gift for someone, so I wanted it to be on the smaller side, which was why I did that. But again, look at your pattern before you make those kind of decisions, or else you'll be stuck in the situation that I was in, am in, still currently in. You get it. All right, that is all of the whips that you've already seen. I have 4 new starts that I got started. So my 1, 2, 3 stitch order that I talked about the last video came in. I actually had to email them. It just kept saying it would ship the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day. So I emailed them very politely, because I know that, you know, companies are in different situations with shipping and with stock especially. So it was more just like, hey, just curious when this might ship. Is it on hold or something? Just let me know, kind of thing. But then they were great, and they just said, no, it's going to be shipped today. We'll make sure it gets out. And then I got the email notification that it got shipped. So I got a huge 1, 2, 3 stitch order. And I know a lot of videos like to show haul, but I really just buy DMC floss and fabric that I will specifically be using for patterns. So I don't really like getting fabric just because I like fabric. Like Even Weaves, Ada's, stuff that I would actually be stitching on. I want to buy them with a pattern in mind that I've already purchased or know that I'm about to purchase. So all that to be said, my regular purchases from 1, 2, 3 Stitch or anywhere else that I might be getting supplies from, I typically probably won't film, just because you're gonna see them as I work on the projects themselves. What I will show you is if I get any cool hoops or grime guards or needle minders, stuff like that. Those might not be very often, just because I like to spend my money on actually working on stuff. But as it happens, I'll show you. That's all to say I got a 1, 2, 3 stitch order. I'm not showing you everything that I buy, but you'll see it eventually, so it's fine. And then that's all to say that I got a 1, 2, 3 stitch order that was huge, and so I kitted up like 9 projects. So in the last 2 weeks, I started on 4 of those. So that's what I'm about to show you. So the first one is called D Forest Monogram, or D, monoforest on the pattern. But my last name starts with a D, so I thought this would be kind of a cute stitch. And I think this actually might go in the den in here somewhere. So we'll see. Now this one is on a 28 count antique white linen. And I am doing 1/1 on this. Now this time I did check. There are no blends, so it's okay. So you can see that this is the straight part of the D, or actually this is the straight part of the D and then it'll go this way. My camera is backwards. It's flipped, so it's a backwards D to me. It's right way to you. But you can see that I started on the trees. Yeah, and those are super teeny stitches too. But it's white linen, so it's pretty easy to see. The finished pattern will end up being, I think, 5 inches by 5 inches, or just under. I think it's going to be 4 inches by 4 inches, and it'll fit in a 5 by 5 frame. So yeah, and this room is pretty monochromatic except for like a couple plants, one of which you can see. So the forest green is gonna look really nice in this room, I think. Okay, so the next new start is one that I'm really excited about. Now, unfortunately, this doesn't have a full preview because this was a SAL, a stitch along by Stitchingly, and it's done. I didn't know about it while it was actually happening, but I was scrolling through Instagram just on the, I'll scroll through on hashtag cross stitch, and I'll go through recent, I'll go through top, and I'll just, when I'm bored, I know I shouldn't scroll when I'm bored, but I'll do it anyways, and I'll scroll, and there will just be projects that catch my eye, and then it'll make me want to stitch it. It'll enable me, right? So I found this one, the Stitcher's Code, and it was a stitch along by Stitchingly. And the patterns are literally just the patterns, so there's no preview. I can't really show you this preview, but it has this top banner, and then there's going to be, you'll see as I stitch it, but there's 6 of these squares, and each little square has like a little thing about frogging or parking or, you know, don't mind the stash. It really reminds me of something like Stitch Rovia-esque with that really cool lettering, but it's teeny because each block is kind of teeny. Anyways, what I've done so far is just working on the banner, the top bit of the banner. So I really just have stitchers right now, and then it'll have code up here, and then it'll have like a little tiny B. But I'm very excited to stitch this and actually show you what it's gonna look like, because I've seen the patterns, but you know, I shouldn't be showing the actual patterns. So you'll just have to continue watching my progress to see what it's gonna look like. It's really cute though. It's really, really cute. I'm stitching this on 32 count cream Belfast linen. So, and I'm doing it 2/2. I really like doing 16 and 18 count-esque fabrics. So either 16 count, 18 count Aida, or 32 or 36 linens. Or Jobelins or Luganas. I also really like those as well. But yeah. And I love the colors. There's some really pretty popping colors in this. I don't know. I'm just so excited to get more progress on this so you guys can see. All right, next I started work on a pattern called City Feather. And this is by Maya Stitch on Etsy. Now that preview was on a dark navy, but I chose a lighter fabric. So I've really just started on this light, it's like a light cream or a light gray. so it doesn't pop too much on the fabric, but that was one of the middle colors, and I'm a middle starter, so that's what I started on. Now this fabric is 28 count Helix by Picture This Plus, and this is okay, so this is a little different. With 28 count or 14 count, like that equivalent, I feel like 2 strands isn't enough coverage for me. So this is with 3 strands. Now there are gonna be some blends, and there were some calls for just single strands. So the single strands I kept just single. With the blends, I'm gonna play it by ear and see which color I want to be 2 strands and which color I want to be 1 strand. We'll see. But unlike Whale and Light Bulb, like I can actually do blends on this, so it'll be good. And then I just love this Helix. It's a the color is coming up pretty true. It's a very, very muted, mottled blue-gray, almost like a steel. But I'll show this again. So we'll see how much contrast it shows for these bits. I'm hoping it'll be enough, but if I don't know. Actually looking at it, it might not be a lot of contrast, but we'll see. I just love this fabric though. All right, my last new start for the last couple weeks is Spruce by Paradise Stitch. And again, I picked this up on Etsy. Now, this one was another pattern I decided to go with a different background. So this one, it's like that cream or tan. I decided 25 count navy. Now this one again, I'm doing 1/1. I'm pretty sure there's no blends though, so I think we're good. And if there were, I think I decided just to do the same method where it was gonna be dark on the bottom, light on top. So we'll see. But I think this navy is really gonna pop with the tree and the border. And I kind of want this to be done by Christmas. I mean, I'm pretty sure I can get it done by Christmas, but I think this would be a really cute Christmas decoration. And I didn't get tons done, but you know, it's enough to call it a start. I'll show you the pattern again because it's so cute. Or not the pattern, but the preview. All right, and that's all of the cross-stitching stuff that I've done in the last 2 weeks. But there was something else that I did. So Shiloh at Cross Stitch MD, please check out her channel if you are unfamiliar. It is great. The cross stitching that she does is super pretty, but she also does knitting. And I have knitted in the past. I tried to knit a blanket in college. I chose really scratchy yarn, so I kind of lost interest 'cause I stitched a lot of it on these like really chunky needles. But I just realized that I wouldn't ever want to use it because the wool was so scratchy. And then I just stopped and then I didn't care anymore. But Shiloh, she knits these amazing socks and these shawls, and she's working on a sweater, and I'm just like, I want to knit clothes for myself. That's so cool. So my goal is to knit socks, but she has enabled me to pick up knitting again. So I have been knitting a hat. It's pretty simple. I'm sure I messed up some stuff with the ribbing of the cuff, but you can't really tell unless you know to look for it. I think it's turning out pretty good. I'm getting to the point where I had never worked on circular needles before, which was really cool, really easy. But I'm getting to the point where I need to transfer over to double pointed needles, and I've never worked on double pointed needles before. So that's gonna be an adventure. And then after this hat, I think I might start on my first pair of socks because that's really what I want to knit. I want to knit socks. She showed these really cute socks that were called Hermione socks or something, but they were so cute, and the wool that she chose, or the yarn that she chose, was so cute. I don't know. I just want to knit socks now. But I still want to cross stitch. But I want to knit. So I'll probably be showing my progress in the adventure that is learning how to knit. My main focus is still cross stitch, but I don't know. Like with cross stitch, it's like you can make these gorgeous scenes, and you're basically painting with thread. With knitting, you're like creating something, which I think is cool. I don't know, but that's something I've been doing too. One of the comments from my last video, there was someone who actually asked to see how I store my floss. So what I think I might do is give you a little bit of a tour of my cross-stitch storage system in my next video. So if that's something that you're interested in, keep an eye out for that in probably 2 weeks. If you like what you see, subscribe so that you can catch my next video, and it'll be right there in your feed waiting for you. If you're on Instagram, I'm under the same name, The Needle and Floss. And you may be asking, where is The Needle and Floss? Where does that name come from? Well, I also have an Etsy store. That's a really cheesy way for me to try to plug my Etsy store. Not that this is about that, but just in case you're wondering, The Needle and the Floss is also the name of my Etsy store. You'll probably see some of my pieces here and there as I stitch samples or stitch secondary pieces of what I work on. But this is really just about me wanting to share my love of cross stitch and share with you guys what I'm working on. So anyways, until next time, happy stitching, and I'll see you guys later.